Welcome back. Big news from Italy because Fabio Paratici is not going to be the next Milan sporting director. It's in everything in place. Milan had an agreement on his sporting project on financial terms, but there was an issue when it came to filling the paperwork and having all the legal agreements in place between the ex-Juventus director and the Rossoneri. What happened? Basically, Paratici, is still serving a 30-month ban, as I mentioned in the previous videos. So when it came to completing the paperwork, this has been reported by several Italian media. It came out that the two parties agree on some clauses which have implications on legal terms. Basically, Paratici is still serving this 30-month ban, which means he can resume his work as a sporting director starting July 20. Now, the transfer window officially begins on July 1st, but negotiations start much earlier. Milan must choose a new coach for next season. They have to sell some players, probably. They have a few players like Theo Hernandez who have a contract expiring 2026, so they must make quick decisions regarding some big names as well, and could not wait possibly until July 20 before Fabio Paratici could actually start working as the actual sporting director. But there is another issue which I think has been crucial in the latest developments between Paratici and Milan, which is the Prisma trial, which is a different sort of trial from the sporting trial carried out by the FIGC. And it's a trial that has been carried out by Italian authorities. It still refers to the Juventus alleged wrongdoings in inflated capital gains, the plusvalenze, as we say here in Italy. And there are many ex-Juventus directors involved, including Maurizio Rivabene, including ex-Juventus president Andrea Agnelli. And this trial is not finished yet. Actually, he has yet to start. So it could be something that is not something that is going to finish pretty quickly. So Milan knew there would be implications. Probably not. I mean, it is not necessarily going to be a bad trial for the ex-Juventus directors and Paratici. But in case this happened, Milan had to have some clauses that would protect the club if things went the wrong way in the trial from Italian authorities. So this was another reason why Milan and Paratici could not reach a full agreement on the clauses, a full agreement on the contract, and this is why Paratici has ultimately been dropped for the sporting director role, and now Milan will start from zero, start from scratch, and begin the search for a new sporting director. There have been names mentioned from Italian media in the past. Iglitare already spoke to Jerry Cardinale and Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Tony D'Amico has been mentioned. He is the Atalanta sporting director. We all know the great job that Atalanta are doing in the transfer window, on the pitch. So Tony D'Amico is one of the people working behind the scenes at Atalanta, and is one of these of the people making great things in Bergamo. But of course, he's under contract with Atalanta. So if something happens between him and Milan, the Rossoneri must also sit down with Atalanta to negotiate a deal. There are some foreign candidates as well. Calciomercato.com even mentioned Giovanni Manna of Napoli as a possible candidate for Milan, but this is probably less likely because Manna has just started his tenure at Napoli, and Aurelio De Laurentiis doesn't seem too willing to let him go in the summer, especially to join a direct rival. But let's talk a little bit more about Paratici. What does his ban mean? Practically, why he can't start working until July 20. I've already mentioned the Prisma trial, which is, as again, separate from the sporting trial, which is carried out by the sporting authorities in Italy. There is also this Prisma trial that has yet to begin in Italy, which could have consequences that Milan wanted to have under control, which is obviously not possible. So I want to share with you something that I got from the Sky Sport website. There we go. So basically, this slide here explains what Paratici can and can't do. So what he can't do with his ban until July 20, he can represent the club in any sporting activity. So even post-match interviews, pre-match interviews, he can do anything of that. He can participate in federal organizations, events and meetings, of course, which is a key part of his job as well as a sporting director. He can be in touch with the team in the dressing room, and he can hold meetings with other directors and with football agents. So clearly, this means no transfer window, no transfer talks, and it's something that will surely affect Milan until July 20. This is something that he can do. The thing is, Milan knew about these things, of course. That's what I think. Of course, everyone knew that his ban would imply these sort of things for him, so that he couldn't actively work as a sporting director. This is why I think there was something else that emerged while the two parties were filling the contracts, and probably this second trial from Italian authorities has had an impact as well in Milan's decision, because these things that I'm showing you right now are things that everyone knew. So Milan knew exactly what they were going to have when they started negotiating with Paratici. The things that he can do is just do daily routine work at the club, and of course even go in the club's headquarters, of course, and follow the training sessions, but no official activities on match days, no official activities in the transfer window. So that would have affected Milan massively. Yet again, I want to repeat, this is something Milan had to know and surely knew before starting negotiating with Paratici. So what happens now with the Rossoneri? I want to show you the Football Italia article as well, with the latest updates on Paratici. What's the point now, and what happens now with Milan? I mentioned Iglitare, I mentioned Tony D'Amico, I mentioned Giovanni Manna. Iglitare is one of those who had already been in talks with the Rossoneri, specifically with Jerry Cardinale and Zlatan Ibrahimovic, not with Giorgio Furlani, who has been tasked of identifying the ideal candidate for the Milan sporting director role. So what does this mean? This means that clearly Giorgio Furlani has to find another candidate, have to find another successful person for the job, and he hasn't yet spoken to Iglitare for a second time on behalf of Milan. This is at least according to the latest report from Sky Sport Italia. So I think Milan will take a little bit of time before starting talks from scratch, but the main thing here is that the Rossoneri will look for not necessarily an Italian director, but they will be looking for somebody who has deep knowledge of Italian football, because the big problem for Milan this season was relying on people, coaches and players who are for sure have a good value, but they don't have much Serie A experience. So they must start a new project with somebody who's familiar with Serie A, somebody who's familiar with Italian football and knows exactly how to work to develop a high-level, top-level Serie A club. So this will be the starting point for Milan. Once they have identified this sort of sporting director, they will hire a coach as well. And yet again, they're going to look for somebody who knows Italian football inside out and knows his stuff and how to do things in Italy's top flight. The names mentioned for the coach are still the same. Antonio Conte, Max Allegri, Roberto De Zerbi, who has had a few issues, according to L'Equipe, with Marseille players as well. So these could possibly opened the door for a move to Milan, even if he had a press conference that Zerbi today saying that he hasn't been contacted by Milan, which is understandable because, again, Milan will need to hire a sporting director first and then go for a new coach. For sure, anyway, the sporting director won't be Fabio Paratici because the latest issues emerging with the contract and with the clause related to legal terms between Milan and Paratici meant that the ex-Tottenham director won't join the Rossoneri as the new sporting director next season. There will be, of course, more updates. Milan have a lot to do. They have to rebuild the club, they have to rebuild the team, and picking the next sporting director will be a key part of this rebuild from the Rossoneri. Stay in touch. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel because more will come on Serie A and Italian football as usual. Thank you for following me, and we speak very, very soon about Milan and many other matters related to Italy and, again, Italian football. Ciao, a presto.